They held the universe still. The Celestari, beings of shimmering latticework and cosmic threads, ruled the vast void with a single unyielding principle: absolute equilibrium. They saw motion as corruption, change as a sickness. Planets were anchored in place by their gravity locks, stars dimmed to quiet embers so their chaotic flares wouldn't disturb the cold order. Even comets, once wild dancers across the dark stage, had been shackled into silent orbit cages. To them, life was a threat to stillness. They believed in a perfect, crystalline universe: no growth, no decay, no surprise. They drifted among frozen starfields like ghostly librarians, cataloging the shapes of planets that would never bloom, the patterns of dust clouds that would never collapse into suns. When they found humanity's first exploration probes drifting beyond the Helios expanse, they studied them with silent disdain. The metal shells trembled with leftover heat, recordings still humming softly with human songs. They called it pollution of vibration, a minor annoyance to be purged. But humanity did not stop. We sent ships filled with restless dreamers, artists who painted nebulae from orbit, engineers who built entire habitats that spun and danced to mimic Earth's seasons. We carried with us 1,000 small heartbeats that refused to sink to the Celestari's eternal hush. Our first settlement in the outer ring wasn't a fortress, it was a garden sphere. Children ran barefoot under domes of woven starlight, breathing in rich green air that defied the Celestari's pale silence. The elders of the Celestari approached, their vast cosmic forms casting endless shadows across human habitats. They demanded stillness. The humans laughed. They offered the Celestari fruit sweetened by chaotic sunlight, music composed on out-of-tune string instruments, and sculptures that twisted unpredictably in the breeze of artificial winds. The Celestari recoiled as though burned, declaring humans to be anomaly incarnate. The decree was clear: if humanity would not surrender its motion, it must be extinguished. What they didn't anticipate was how deeply humans believed in breath, the simplest motion of all. A gasp at seeing a nebula swirl alive with colors no eye had yet named. A sigh of relief after each perilous jump through deep space. A laugh shared after narrowly avoiding a meteor swarm. Breath was life, and life could not be held still. The Celestari sent entropy beams to freeze our spinning habitats, but we rerouted the energy into solar sails, turning our stations into wandering starships. They tried to silence our transmission towers, yet we transformed them into musical instruments broadcasting symphonies into the dark. Even as they shut down our fusion cores, human engineers diverted failing reactors into glorious fireworks, showering starlanes with radiant spirals that no mathematician could fully predict. Finally, as the Celestari closed in on the last human fleet, a young pilot named Marin drifted out alone in a one-man craft. The ship was fragile, its hull patched with old lunar garden plates, its thrusters singing like a dying whale. In the center of that fragile craft, Marin inhaled deeply, then exhaled, slowly, deliberately, sending a ripple of warmth across the frozen emptiness. That breath, amplified by the ship's experimental pulse engine, carried through subspace like a sudden heartbeat. The Celestari felt it as a vibration they had never encountered, living, messy, filled with longing and love. They had spent eons fearing such a tremor, sealing it away beneath layers of rigid code and gravitational prisons. The pulse spread like wildfire. Locked planets began to drift once more, tectonic plates cracked and shifted, long-caged comets broke free and painted the skies with silver tears. In the void, the Celestari wailed in horror as their perfect lattice shattered. Yet within those laments, something unexpected arose, a melody. A gentle, echoing note that wove itself into Marin's exhaled breath. For the first time in their endless existence, the Celestari felt not the cold certainty of stillness, but the exhilarating terror of motion, the pulse of life. They felt themselves spin. Humans called it a rebirth. Celestari voices, once monotones of law, began to stutter and tremble with new words, raw and bright. Young Celestari, unformed star chrysalis beings, learned to shape their lattices into flowing ribbons and spirals, dancing alongside human pilots. Together, they rebuilt galaxies not as frozen gardens, but as symphonies of living stars and tumbling moons. Humans taught them to laugh at solar flares instead of quelling them. The Celestari, in turn, shared secrets of dark matter rivers and quantum winds, weaving together a new tapestry of cosmic wonder. The universe no longer stood still. It turned, spun, pulsed, each breath a revolution, each heartbeat a spark that set whole nebulae aflame. Once, they held the universe like a motionless crystal. But we, with nothing more than fragile lungs and reckless hearts, set it spinning with our breath. And in that wild, beautiful motion, both our species finally learned what it meant to live.